I have a plan. Eric Martin briefed me over a beverage of my choice last night and gave me this beautiful plan of discussion. We're going to rip up the script, and we have to because of inflation. When you speak to your PhDs, when you speak to Gita Gopinath and the rest, and with your doctorate as well, do you have a character or understanding of this inflation? What is the makeup of this inflation that won't seem to go away?
The makeup is one, disruptions from Omicron, and they continue in China. Two, Russia's senseless war against Ukraine that has pushed energy and food prices up. We also are going to see some repositioning of supply chains that would have longer-term impact on cost structures. But right now, what we face is demand remains quite strong and supply has trouble meeting it. The most important task we have to secure our economies is to win the fight against inflation. And that means for central banks to show the resolve that is necessary. And why we need to do that? Why do we need to win this war? Because if we do not have price stability, we undermine prospects for growth, and because we hit incomes of people severely.
Things are moving quickly. The U.S. real yield, as Jim Caron of Morgan Stanley just mentioned, moves 10 basis points. The two-year yield moves, I believe, 18 basis points. Do you suggest, would the IMF suggest to central bankers, including Chairman Powell, that they need to slow down the dialogue and the certitude, the rhetoric, and extend the timeline out, even at sacrificing a higher inflation, to provide for financial stability?
What we are suggesting is that the Fed needs to continue to be data-driven. They need to look at the economy. They need to look at where the signals are in terms of are we reaching price stability or not. And then they need to look at the impact their decisions would have domestically, but also internationally. Let's remember, tighter financial conditions also mean stronger dollar, also mean capital outflows from emerging market and developing economies. Of course, the Fed is primarily focused on domestic conditions. The responsibility of the Fed is price stability in the United States. But also the Fed has been quite active to think of ways to support global stability, especially through extending swap lines to a large number of countries.
Give us an update on that right now. We talked to the people of the Green Book, the Financial Stability Book. What is the IMF's present tone on the quality of the liquidities in the market, given this inflation report this morning?
We have seen financial stability risks increasing, but we are still primarily concerned about inflation running out of control. If it maintains so stubborn as it has been so far, then the most significant risk we face is that inflation expectations de-anchor. And when they de-anchor, that means then pressure on wages to go up would fuel inflation from other directions. And then the job of the Fed would become harder, and it needs to tighten even more.
Two more questions very, very quickly here. You met yesterday with certain members of the British government, I believe a gentleman from the Bank of England and a beleaguered Chancellor of the Exchequer. Did you put them out in the proverbial American woodshed? I mean, give us the insight. No one's listening or watching right now. How did that bilat go with the two members of the United Kingdom?
It went really well. It was a very constructive meeting. We talked about the narrow path that the world economy has to walk on today, and how important it is not to make missteps out of this path and not to communicate in a way that may be more difficult. What I was very encouraged to see is that the two of them sitting together with a common purpose. The Chancellor talking about his intention to accelerate a projection of how he's going to anchor his budget in medium-term fiscal sustainability, and also his commitment for the Office for Budget Responsibility to come up with independent projections. That all tells us what we know, that the UK actually has strong institutions, and they do work, even if at some point we may see some
With those comments, you'll be invited to the coronation. Dr. Georgieva, thank you.